Welcome everyone to Choice Conversations, the podcast dedicated to helping you improve your life, one choice at a time. I'm your host, Chris Stefanik. Let's do this. Alright gang, today I've got an interview with Mark Asquith where we discuss how to make entrepreneurship fun. Mark, he's, as you might expect, an entrepreneur himself. He's also an author, and he hosts the fantastic podcast Excellence Expected, where he covers primarily entrepreneurship, but gets into a lot of personal development stuff. Really high-quality show. I recommend you check it out. In our discussion today, we spend a lot of time talking about things like the difference between entrepreneurship and a job, making money versus providing value to people, productivity, willpower, how to handle the tasks that come up when you're running a business that you don't necessarily want to do, but that you need to do them. Lots of good stuff in there. Check it out. Before we get into the interview, I did want to remind you I still have the contest running. If you would like to get a sample of the excellent bonus content I have available for Patreon supporters, you can get that by entering the contest. It's real simple. Just go into social media, share one of these podcasts, one of the Choice Conversations episodes, tag me so that I'm aware that you shared it, and just like that, you're going to be entered in, and I will, in a few weeks, select a winner, and you will get access to the bonus content on Patreon. So lots of good stuff that I post over there for Patreon supporters only, so I think you'll like it. Check it out. All right, let's get to the interview. Hey, Mark, how's it going?
Yeah, good, thanks, Chris. What about yourself?
It's going real good. So, welcome to the show. For my listeners who might not be familiar with you, if you could just take a couple minutes and introduce yourself, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I a bit of the standard entrepreneur, really, you know, the kind of wandering soul who ends up doing things that no one ever expected him to do, including myself, you know, sort of the in the pursuit of fun and having a good time and earn a little bit of money as well. So, at the moment, I'm really focused on three particular businesses. My original business, which is hacksawstudio.com, which is a design, brand and digital agency, which was my first business actually, and so I'll still sit there today doing that. And the other two, which are a little bit more recent actually, podcast websites, which was set up actually launched to the public in August 2015, which is a partnership with myself and JLD from EOFire. We provide an all-in-one podcasting platform for people that want to build a personal brand around a podcast, which is cool. And the other thing, which is kind of my baby, is Excellence Expected, which is it's my podcast or my series of podcasts and my own outlet to help people really in the first 2.5 years of entrepreneurship, you know, make the move into entrepreneurship, into their own business, but also really to help people who have perhaps already got businesses to diversify into other products, other services, and create a little bit of space to grow, really. So that's really what I do in a bit of a nutshell.
Right. And the reason I wanted to have you on today, well, at least one of the reasons anyway, there's so many topics we could discuss. You got so much great content on in your podcast, Excellence Expected. But the one area that really attracted me to you is how you talk about making the workday fun. You know, when entrepreneurship, it's one of these things where it sounds great when you're on the outside, but then you always hear when people dive into it and get going, it ends up not being what they expected and being, in some cases, like worse than working for somebody else. You know, it's now much harder, and they don't have a life, and they're basically, it wasn't all that they were cracked up to be. But it seems like, you know, you kind of had a taste of that initially, but you learned from those lessons, were able to turn things around and really to make it something that's fun, where each day you're jazzed to go into work and get things done. So maybe could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look, the bottom line is that it is hard. You know, that's the key thing. It's very difficult. You can't pursue this path of entrepreneurship if you're pursuing something that you don't really care about, if you're not passionate about it. And it's so cliched, but it's so true. You genuinely can't do something just because you think it's going to make you money, because that does become a job. You're chasing the money. You go to work to make money. You don't go to work because you enjoy it, or a lot of people don't. So, setting up your first business, your second business, your third business, whatever it is, something on the side, you are going to be putting a lot of hours in. And the key thing is that you mentioned earlier on, Chris, around, this idea that people are surprised when they don't have a quote unquote life. The key thing is finding something that you do that doesn't feel like work. It's the classic quote: if you find something that you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And it's so true, because if you do genuinely love what you're doing, then it doesn't feel like work. People say to me, how come you work so late, or how come you start so early? And I just say, well, because this is not working. Like, if I was to choose a hobby, it would be this, because I just love doing what I'm doing, creating content and writing and podcasting and creating things. So it's kind of not work. It just so happens that I get paid to do it, So it's a very interesting pursuit. I think you do have to be very specific around what you want. If you want money, well, you probably want to get a job, because there's no money in entrepreneurship or setting your own business up for a year, a couple of years in some cases. That's the case. You're not going to get rich quick. But if you love it, if you want to turn up and you want to have fun and you want to enjoy it and you want to be fulfilled while still keeping an eye on the money that will come, then perhaps it is for you. So you do need to choose entrepreneurship wisely. You've got to choose it for the right reasons,
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And, I think entrepreneurship, that's one path to get there. And people, they choose a job based on money and not based on something they're passionate about. And so they hear about entrepreneurship and they're like, oh, it's the job is the problem. So then they choose entrepreneurship based on money, not based on something they're passionate about. And they never fix the root problem. They're still not happy either way, because you have to find what you enjoy doing. And I think if you find what you enjoy doing, you can be happy working a job, or you can be happy doing it, as an entrepreneur as well. But either way is, that decision is very personal as to, there's pros and cons to both ways. And, but the way to do it, the way to do it right, quote unquote, right, is to find what it is that you would enjoy doing. So it wouldn't be like doing a job, Yeah,
and I think you mentioned something there, which is when someone decides to become an entrepreneur, you don't become an entrepreneur. That's the key distinction, I think, that people really have to understand. I don't care about being an entrepreneur. Genuinely, I don't care. Call me what you want. My goal in life is not to be seen as an entrepreneur. In fact, I was told once that actually this is by someone that set up multiple very successful businesses and exited a couple of them as well. He said to me when I was very young, he said, no one calls themselves an entrepreneur. It's other people that say you're entrepreneurial. And the classic thing with that is that we're in this culture now where everyone says, I am an entrepreneur. Well, you're not an entrepreneur unless you're making money. And I'd take that a step further. In my mind, you're not an entrepreneur unless you've proven you can make money twice, 3 times, 4 times, 10 times from different things using your own gumption, your own approach, your own mindset. Just because you quit your job doesn't mean you're an entrepreneur. No one quits the job to become an entrepreneur, and in my mind, succeeds. Yes, they'll try different ideas until they find one that fits, but all they are at that point, and this is all I am, is I'm a business owner. I provide solutions to people that want to pay me for them, and that's the key thing. I think we live in this society where everyone wants to be this entrepreneur, like it's this big celebrated badge, which is amazing. I love that we live in this really enterprise-driven, really self-aware, really initiative-led kind of culture. But don't set out to be an entrepreneur. Set out to make some money doing what you enjoy doing. And then see if you can do it again. Get it to a point where it's kind of automated, or you've got a team, or it's passive, or whatever. You've got it to a point where you can exit. Then try and do it again. And just have some fun. Really don't chase the money. Don't chase the label of entrepreneurship either. Just do what you want to do. Make some money doing it. And don't worry about what people call you. Honestly, I know people that call themselves entrepreneurs and they're not made a dime since leaving work, 2-3 years ago. Mm-hmm. I talk to them every single day, and I'm like, well, look, stop worrying about copying other people and looking at what everyone else is doing, and just Focus on what you're good at. Focus on what you're really, really good at and what you love doing. And then entrepreneurship, fine. If that's what you want to call yourself, that's cool. But make some money, just make some money and have some fun with it. And that's a big distinction. People pursue the label.
Yeah, it's really interesting. We came from a place where, what was valued, what was preached at, when I was a little boy, it wasn't to go start your own business. It was to get a good career, to get a good job, work for a good company, that sort of thing. That was the place people were coming from. And we've somehow transitioned now to where, at least, I'm sure still many people are still getting that message, get a good job, work for a good company, whatever. But it's much more prevalent now where people are saying, oh, the real thing you want to be doing is be an entrepreneur, start your own business, work for yourself. And you said it like it's a badge of honor for people. And it's almost like a lot of people are out there like prescribing entrepreneurship, like this is what you should be doing. And if you're not an entrepreneur, if you're working for somebody else, then you're doing something wrong. That the right way to do this is to be an entrepreneur. And it's almost like gone too far the other direction, where now it's like, okay, entrepreneurship could be a great thing for some people, but it's not meant for everyone. And and it's just kind of funny that now people are seeking that label, right, rather than, okay, how can I just be successful? Because at the end of the day, like you said, like what's the point of even doing it if you're not making any money?
Exactly.
If you're not maximizing your potential, you're using your skills. That everyone has a unique skill set. If you're not finding a way to use that to bring value to other people, then what's the point?
Yeah, and let's be completely crass about it as well. Like you've got to understand that it's all right to like money. If anyone says, "Why did you set up your business?" the answer that we all give, because it feels nice on social media, is, "Well, we just want to add value to other people." I call complete bullcrap on that. No, it's not. You set your own business up because you want to make money. That is it. The way you make money is by adding value to people. That's the way. That's the tactic and the strategy. That's the how. The why isn't to add value for 90% of people. It really isn't. The why is paying your mortgage. And it's true. And people kind of get a bit hung up on that, and they forget to sell. Chris Ducker always talks about it. You've got to be seen to sell, and it's so true. You can't possibly say you're an entrepreneur without making money, and at the same time, you can't possibly say that you are. Like, you're looking over the fence at the people that are putting the pictures of the yachts and the bloody, the kind of swimming pools that they're working around all the time, and all the holidays or the cars that they've got. You can't tell me that some part of whomever you are, when you seek out this entrepreneurial badge, you can't tell me that some part of you doesn't want that. It's not reasonable to consider that as even being true. It's not true. We all want something better than what we've got, whatever that looks like for you. And the only way to do it, the way that you'll kind of get liberated by this, is by genuinely having some fun and just finding out where the things that you enjoy doing add some value for the customer. That's where the money is. So you can't really seek any one of these things independently. You have to look at them as this big holistic picture of, look, bottom line is, I do have to pay my mortgage at the end of this month. That is it. Dead simple. Got to be done. How do I do that? And actually, am I going to have to work more to do it, doing something that I hate doing just to pay this mortgage so that I can call myself an entrepreneur? Because if I hate it, I'm not having any fun, but I'm still paying my mortgage, I may as well get a job. So you've got to really look at what fulfills you and where you do have your fun, and the tasks within that business that you enjoy doing. As you get bigger and bigger, you can outsource, or you can build a team around you to do the things that you don't enjoy doing. You've always got to have an eye on that, because otherwise you end up becoming this prisoner to your own business, which is silly. It's pointless. And I think we've all kind of been there. You end up just turning up and actually just employing yourself, which is fruitless, So I think you've got to appreciate the codependence that finance, that enjoyment and passion, and also value have. They are codependent on each other, and without any one of them, you just won't get to where you want to be. It really is that clear.
Right. Yeah, I almost feel like that's another area when we talk about the money aspect where the pendulum has kind of swung too far the other way, which is it used to be that, it was all about money. Let's, when I was a kid, that's what was preached to me, was like, you need to be making money. And then as this rise in entrepreneurship came about, and it's become kind of a vogue thing, a badge of honor, people have put so much emphasis on, well, the only way you're going to be successful is by adding value to others. And it's, it's important to treat your customers, like you would treat your friends. You had to be with the highest character and to be just giving and adding value. And, you don't want to treat them like they're an ATM. That's that kind of thing. To the point now where people are almost like, oh, well, I have to concentrate on value, and I can't concentrate on money. It's like, well, no, yeah, you're right. Money is a big component of this as well. So it's, there's a balance to be struck there, I think, if you want to be really successful at it.
Definitely. And just to kind of finish up on that point, actually, Chris, you can't think about it this way. If you are genuinely, the only thing you genuinely want to do is to add value, that's a super admirable thing. Like, I love working with everyone that I work with and strive to do that. But without the money that brings, I can't do that because I'd have to get a job.
Right.
So you really can't be shy about money, and people just have this real worry about being seen as salespeople or, seen as out for themselves. They're not. People understand that you've got to live your life, and to do that, you need money. It really is that simple.
Right. All right. So bringing it back to making the entrepreneurship fun, or making, having more joy in your life as you're getting that money you need to pay your mortgage, right? In any business, there's going to be some mundane tasks that you're not really that jazzed to do. I guess, what are some of your strategies to keep the fun, to keep the passion, to keep you excited about going into work in the morning, knowing that, every little thing you do isn't like going to be, going on a ride at Disneyland, right?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. And, there are a few ways to look at this one. The first one is you've got to figure out, you've got to be really super mindful actually what it is that you enjoy doing. And that sounds really simple, but no one really does it. Everyone just gets through the day and gets through the tasks. But you need to kind of be really mindful of okay, look, I know I've got to do this task, but do I enjoy doing it? And you've got to, that's the first step, is being aware of what you enjoy and what you don't enjoy. And then the second step really is looking at a couple of things, actually. First of all, how can you structure your day so that you get more time to do the things that matter and the things that you enjoy doing? So what I tend to do is I've got one of the first things I did when I set up Excellence Expected was I wrote a book called The Essential 14-Day Guide to Cutting Your Working Hours and Increasing Your Impact, which talks about this triple I principle, which is, let's measure every single task that we do for a period of 2-3 days. And let's, at the end of it, categorize them into 3 I's. So important tasks, integral tasks, and interesting tasks. And then you've kind of got to figure out which things you just need to load into your day. So the integral stuff, like the invoicing, the billing, the chasing payments, if you're a service business. Like, you believe me, you're not paying your mortgage unless you do those things, but no one likes doing them. So get it out of the way early, get it in your day, get it done, just get it done, get it finished with. Do the important stuff that moves the needle, whether it's sales or product development or something that really tangibly moves the needle. Really focus on those things. And then make sure you build some time to do something interesting that you like doing, whether it's research or even just going for a walk or playing some golf or heading to the gym, whatever. Build it in to your day. And then figure out that if you start off small by doing that, you'll structure your day in such a way that you just enjoy it, because you tackle the things you don't want to do first and move through to what you do want to do. So you've got something to look forward to. Now, as you get bigger, the really cool thing with that is that the middle bit, the important bit, they're the bits that you should be focusing your attention on. The integral things are the things that you can probably build a team for. And you can just start to raise yourself out of doing the integral tasks and let someone else, who frankly is going to cost your business less in terms of money than you will. And you can start to do more interesting stuff and more fun stuff as well as doing the important stuff. So that's the process that I kind of follow, and I do that in every business. I do that in Excellence. I do that in podcast websites and in Hacksaw. Look back 2-3 years at Hacksaw, I was doing client work. I was doing real on-the-ground managing of projects, and now I don't do that. I do strategy and business dev. So that would be my key kind of process is use this triple I principle to really categorize the tasks and figure out what am I actually doing? What am I really doing? And where can I keep things light and buoyant, you know?
Right. Yeah, I know I made a huge stride in my productivity and my ability to, not just productive, because productivity is just doing things, right? I was always able to do a lot of stuff. But to actually, that doing stuff leading towards me reaching my goals, I mean, one of the big keys to switch that, where I wasn't just being productive, but I was actually like making huge strides towards my goals, was looking at what is the most important things for me to be doing today. Like, these are going to be the things that lead me towards my goals, right? I call it like, how can I win the day? What are one or two tasks that if I do these tasks, even if I do nothing else, I'll have won the day. And I do those first thing in the morning. And then after that, it's kind of all gravy, right? And a lot of times those things will end up being something that, maybe I didn't want to do, like that you called like the integral stuff, that you're not really wanting to do it, but it needs to get done. Willpower is something, it's like a limited resource. And you use up little bits of it along the day as you're going through. And if you try to push it off later in the day, there's like a couple things that happen. First of all, you're using up your willpower on other stuff that's not that important. And then when it gets later in the day, you're like, screw this, I'm drained, I'm not doing that. And then the integral stuff didn't get done, or the important stuff didn't get done. And at that point, all you pretty much can do is the stuff that's interesting, because that doesn't require willpower. And the other thing is that you spend most of your day like dreading that task rather than just getting it out of the way. And now you can relax. I've got it done, So, I caught myself, I'm really good about this, but I caught myself the other day actually doing it. It was a good reminder that like I spent like the whole day dreading this one task. And I'm like, why did you do that? You should have just did that first thing in the morning. And then you could have been relaxed the whole day and felt good about getting it done. And you have something to look forward to at that point rather than having something you're not looking forward to the whole day. So, yeah, I think the way you explain that in your book with the triple I's is a really great way of capturing the essence of that.
You make a good point about the willpower. That's something that Gary Keller covers pretty well in the one thing, is this idea that you're on limited reserves of willpower, but you can recharge it. One of the big things that really gets me, and I even get this with the businesses that I'm in particular at Hacksaw, I feel as if I've got to be sat behind the desk 8:30 a.m. until 5 p.m. I feel that way because that's just the way we're programmed, isn't it? These days, it's what we get told to do, but I don't do that. I understand that, for example, I know that I'm best in the morning. So when it gets to 1 p.m., I may as well just not be there. I may as well do podcast interviews because it's interesting, it's fun, and I have meetings that are just fun, or I don't know, play some Xbox, or go to the gym, or play golf. Anything to recharge the willpower for the things that we're not that keen on doing. And that's how you, as you said earlier, that's how you get over these crappy little tasks that you don't want to do, because we all need to do them. We do. We've got to do the things that we don't want to do. That's one of the big misconceptions of entrepreneurship. When I work for myself, I will do exactly what I want. Well, wrong. You don't get rid of one boss. If you've got 10 clients, all you do is acquire 10 other bosses. That's it. You can treat them as partnerships. Of course, it's a much more fluid relationship than a standard boss relationship is. But ultimately, they pay your bills just like your boss did. So you've got to understand that, find out when you're best. Listen to your body. When do you turn off? When does your willpower reach its kind of peak, and when does it start to peter off a little bit? Or also flip that around. Do you work best after lunch? Does your willpower take some time to ramp up? Don't worry about what everyone else is doing. Just find your own rhythm, find your own beat, and the times where the willpower is low, do something fun. And I mean not business fun. Just go out and like I always said, just I hit some golf balls. I'll go and hit 100 golf balls, or I'll go and go and just chill out for an hour, or I'll go for a walk or something just to recharge the willpower up. So don't be afraid of doing that, because you work for yourself. No one's going to tell you can't do it.
Yeah, that's great advice, and I definitely am a big fan of that as well, of sprinkling that in during the day. And I've also found that like going for walks and stuff like that can be a way to kill a couple birds with one stone too. You're like, oh, my afternoon's booked with meetings or whatever, but I just put on my headset and go for a walk and do the meeting while I'm walking, kind of thing. It helps to make that afternoon go better, and it's for like, so many people are like, well, I don't have time to go for a walk every day. that sort of thing. And it's like, well, there are ways you can fit walks in that maybe you weren't thinking before.
Yeah, definitely. And here's the thing as well. Everyone that says that they don't have time for something, it doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're working on the most important thing in your career and you get a call to say that someone really close to you is in hospital and needs you urgently there, that thing suddenly becomes much less important because something else supersedes it, and rightly so. And the point that I'm getting to is that anyone that says they don't have time for something genuinely just don't really appreciate the task. So for someone that says I don't have time to go walking, they just don't really care about walking.
Right. Yeah.
That is it. You know, it really is that simple. And a lot of people will kind of take umbrage with that, and they'll say, well, no, that's not true. But actually it is true. The protestation is just them not wanting to look like they don't care about it. Like, it's all right if you don't, like, I hate running, right? Running for me sucks. I hate it. I'd rather lift some weights and do some kettlebells or go for a walk. I hate running. It's so boring for me. So if someone said, right, okay, the best way to boost your productivity is to go on a run at 2 p.m. every day, suddenly I wouldn't have time for it. But actually I would be able to fit it in if I wanted to. I just don't care about it. So, you know, it's all right to not care about things. It's all right to not want to do things that other people do. And the key thing really with all of that is just understanding that, you've got to find your own fun. You've got to find your own recharge point. What do you plug into that recharges you? Because you will find time for that. If someone said, go and do the thing that you love most, or as a kind of byproduct, you'll get your willpower back and be able to focus better at work. You'd jump at the chance to do that. So you got to find that. You got to identify that. Don't look over the fence and say, well, he goes for a run on his lunch. That's what I'm going to do. Do what you need to do, you know, to have your own fun.
Right. Yeah, it really is all about what you prioritize. So I was just having a discussion with a friend the other day, and you know, it's like we know a woman. She's a stay-at-home mom. Her kids are at school all day. They're, you know, it's not like she's got like an infant or something, and she's too busy to do any. You know, I'm too busy. I don't have time for this. I don't have time. I'm just so busy. You know, no job. No. It's like, okay, even people that don't have a job and aren't raising kids, and literally could do like whatever they wanted with their day, have more things to do in the day than they can possibly do. You know, there's just more things that they could do than 24 hours will give them. So, and that's the key, you know, so it's every single person on the planet, that is the case. So it really comes down to, what do you prioritize? You know, none of us have enough time for everything. So it's just, you spend your time on what you prioritize. And I guess you're going to prioritize the stuff that I guess you find value in, or that you feel you have to do. And like you had said, if people say they don't have time for a walk, they don't see the value in it. They don't want to do it, and so they're not prioritizing it. So, and it's having that revelation, I think, is good. You know, people to really understand what it is they're doing, because people will say that and don't realize what they're really saying is, I'm not saying I don't have time to do X. What I'm saying is, you know, I don't find X as important as, you know, A, B, and Z.
Yeah, exactly. One of the things that springs to mind on the back of that then is, are you genuinely having fun? So back to this notion of fun, and, you know, let's call it recharging, if you will. Like, have you just labeled something as fun, but actually you don't enjoy it? So let's use the walk as the example. Do you just go out for a walk at 1 p.m. every day because you think that's what you should do, because that's what quote unquote entrepreneurs do? Or and do you just label that as the fun time in your day, when actually you don't care about it, you're not that bothered about it, and it's the first thing? It's like leg day at the gym. Like, that hurts. It just hurts, honestly. And you're tired and you're done. You can't walk. So what's the first thing to go when you can't go on a Thursday or a Monday? Nah, I'm not doing my legs. It's because you hate it. It's because you bloody hate it. So, you know, are we labeling the things that we're saying are actually fun? Are they genuinely the things that we want to be doing, or are we just doing them because we think that that's what we should do as quote unquote entrepreneurs? You know, as I said, you got to find your own thing. Just as we're told, find your own passion in business and build value around that. When it comes to not working, you got to find your own thing there. If you've only got half an hour to recharge, What can you do? What is the thing that you will love doing so much? Is it reading? Is it writing? What is it? So you got to be just pretty clear on exactly what that looks like to you, and you just be careful that you're not just doing it because you think that's what you should be doing.
Yeah, that's seems like really sage advice, because you're right. So many of these places that you go to for advice in this area on being an entrepreneur, recharging your batteries or stuff like that, they will prescribe to you things to do that work for them.
Exactly.
Rather than saying what you need to do is figure out, here's what I do because it works for me, but I'm not prescribing this. What I'm prescribing you do is figure out what works for you.
And that's where a lot of the books kind of come a cropper, because a lot of the authors are just writing about what's worked for them. If you look at the books that are really, really, really excelling at something, what they do is they give you a framework to find your own rhythm, to find your own beat. So that's a big thing as well. I agree with that completely. Like, when you're choosing to take advice, whatever advice you're choosing to take, make sure that you're basing it on a framework to build upon yourself, and not just this notion of, I will copy exactly what they're doing. You can apply that to anything, whether it's podcasting. So many entrepreneurs are copying the podcast formula of JLD and saying, I'll just do this. Like, find your own beat, find your own rhythm. Whether it's video, I don't want to do what Amy's doing. I don't want to do what Chris is doing with memberships. I want to do my own kind of thing. And the same applies for building a daily routine or building fun into your day. Just because I like to do one thing doesn't mean you can't go on out and hit some squash balls or go play badminton or something. It's really weird to do that, but because we're so culturally coerced into feeling as if we've got to do things quote unquote after work. Like, okay, what if I want to go to the gym? Can I go at? Wait a sec, I can go to the gym at 11:40 a.m. That's crazy. I can go to the gym at 3:15? I can go to the gym. No, this is work time. It's a big conditioning thing that we've got to overcome, I think, when we first start in business.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. So before I let you go, what's maybe one takeaway that you could give to my audience that would really help them to bring this home?
Yeah, a really good question. The thing that I would say is be mindful of yourself. Like, people, and myself included in this, get bogged down with the doing. They get bogged down with the day-to-day and the things that we have to achieve. But you've got to be mindful around what you're doing and why you're doing it. And you've got to understand that if you choose the path of entrepreneurship, you're not choosing a path that you can turn off. You're not choosing something that you can stop at 5 p.m. So it's super important to be mindful of how your body's treating you, how your mind is working, how you're achieving things, what you're achieving, when you're achieving them, and how in specific ways you are achieving them. And that would be the big thing, is just really listen to everything and try and just find your own rhythm, find your own beat, and kind of walk to that and play to your strengths as opposed to playing to everyone else's. That would be the sort of big takeaway on that one.
So could you maybe give a tip for how you would do that? To somebody who's not really sure, well, how do I be mindful about myself? I'm not really sure how to do that.
So a really good way of doing it actually is writing a really nice kind of journal on a morning or on an evening, and just being really very honest with yourself around what you've done, how the day went, and really kind of assessing that on its merits, as opposed to just feeling as if you might have had a good day or you might have had a bad day. And then list out 3 things that I achieved today. Number 1, what did I achieve? Boom. Number 2, tomorrow I'm committed to improving this. And then number 3, just kind of how are you feeling? What's my mood? How do I honestly feel about that? Because you may feel as if you've had a terrible day, but as you look back, actually you've achieved some pretty big things. So that would be the first thing to do, is really just kind of take stock of everything. I write a journal in the morning, every single morning, and cover these things off. So that's a massive thing to do, I think.
Nice. I like it. Great. Well, thank you so much, Mark. It's been a real pleasure talking with you. Before I let you go, why don't you tell my listeners, if they would like to find out some more from you, what would be the best way to find that?
Yeah, for sure. Real pleasure, actually, Chris. So check out excellence-expected.com. And then if you head to actually excellence-expected.com/movement, that's actually a free entrepreneurial community that I run in Slack. It's entirely free. There's no strings attached. You can just dive in and join a sort of community of like-minded entrepreneurs. So check that out. I'll be very happy to help anyone that asks.
Cool. All right. It's been a pleasure. Take care of yourself.
Thank you, Chris. Real pleasure.
All right. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Excellent discussion there on how to make entrepreneurship fun. And so many people, as we discussed during the show, desperately want to be entrepreneurs. It's this badge of honor, and then they dive in and discover that it sucks, that they don't like it. And that can definitely happen if you don't put some thought into a lot of these areas like we discussed today. So really good stuff. I'm so grateful that Mark came on the show. Once again, if you'd like to enter the contest to get access to the Patreon bonus content, all you have to do is pick whatever your favorite Choice Conversations episode is, share it on social media and tag me, and you're entered in. And in a few weeks I'll be selecting a winner. If you could do that, I would really appreciate it. All right, everyone. Have a great day. Or not. The choice is yours.